Have you ever wondered how to do a weekly reset in your planner? Well, follow along with me today as I do my weekly reset in my everyday planner, the Laurel Denise Luna. Hi, my name is Allison and I love planners, systems, and routines, especially ones that make things simple. And if you find anything in this video helpful, please make sure to give it a thumbs up as it really does help. So I use multiple planners in my planning system, but the one I use for my day-to-day planning is this Laurel Denise Luna Planner, and it just came out, and it's actually an academic dated planner that doesn't even start until July of this year. But I redated the June because I could not wait to get started in it. And so I have been now using it for 2 weeks, and I am just starting to kind of get into a little bit of a routine with it. Let me get out all of my pens and markers that I need. I love these little zipper pouches because they can hold so much and keep it right there ready to go for you. The Luna Planner layout has all of your month on one side, and then it has your weekly pages across the bottom here. And then it also has this large dashboard area. And I've added in a couple of homemade do-it-yourself inserts to fit my particular needs. And I have a different video on those if you're interested. But to start out with my weekly reset, the first thing I do is review. So I need to go through and clear out my current week and see if there's anything that I need to cross off that I've already done, if I need to cancel it, and that type of thing. So I have been lately using a gray highlighter to highlight things that have been done. And so it helps me see really easily what hasn't been done. And so as I'm looking here on my last week, I can see that I have 2 tasks here that did not get done. And make ice is not important anymore because that was several days ago. But this get out the trust and read it, I still do very much need to do that. And so I am going to highlight it in a different color to notate that I need to move that to the next week. I got everything on that day. This is kind of an ongoing project working on my basement that I still do need to keep on the task list. And then we got a new Starlink internet, and I do need to order the mount for it so that we can put it up. Putting up the summer decor, I really do want to get that changed out, so I'm going to do that. And then my daughter did go to work, so I can mark off that. This week I had tried at the bottom, trialing putting some little things that I wanted to do today, each day, almost like a habit tracker. I didn't like how it worked. The week before, I had used it for meal planning, but I had made my own little meal planning insert, so I wasn't using that. So I think the next week I'm just going to take off this whole bottom section and leave it with my things and then space for the kids and then just a long to-do list. So I've gone through all of my week and have seen what I need to cancel or move. Then the other thing I need to look at is any of my tasks. This one is actually completed, so I can move it to here. This one's still in progress. As I said, I'm going to keep that summer decor on there and working on the basement. So those tasks will just remain up there. And then I can make a little sticky note for order that Starlink mount. And I think that's going to take about half an hour, maybe by the time I figure it out and everything. So I've been trying to write about how long I think each task will take to kind of help me plan my days a little bit better. The other thing that I need to check besides my task list up here, my little Kanban board, is my brain drop area. And so I've been using this back page. And for me, when I cross it off, it doesn't necessarily mean it's done. It just means that I have moved it to the appropriate spot. So this one, finish this study. I've been doing a Bible study on the life of David from the company Her Daily Grace, and I'm almost finished with it, but I really want to try and finish it up this week. So I have put that into my in progress, and I can mark it off of my brain drop. Screen-free Sundays, that was just kind of an idea that I had that I might try and do screen-free Sundays. I wrote it down and I've thought about it, and so I don't need it on there anymore. Add meal planner link to the Notion YouTube video, and I do believe that I have that on. I already made a little post-it for that. So actually that is a different one. So let's make another little post-it for that. Put that under soon, and I can cross that off. Erasable highlighter for Trevor's days off. I already did that earlier this week. And as you can see, I started putting Trevor's days off in the pink corners, and then the days that Elizabeth is working in those. And the reason I needed to do it with erasable is both of their schedules are pretty changeable. And so I wanted to be able to change it nicely. And then I'm going to write on my squirrel list. I watched a really interesting YouTube video, and I can't remember off the top of my head what her name was, but I will mention it here in the on screen, about making like a dashboard for your week with 7 pieces of info. And so that's something I want to explore a little further. So I'm going to write that here. And I haven't started a really good little rabbit hole list here in my planner since it is new, but I think I could just use maybe one of these pages here in the back for right now. So I've got that marked down. And then overnight oats, the kids really want overnight oats this week. And so I need to make sure that I put that on my meal planner. Now, my meal planner is on a plastic little insert, and these also both need reviewed so that we can refresh it. I like to write on my plastic inserts with just these ultra fine tip Sharpie markers. The way you can erase that is you take a dry erase marker and you go over it, and don't let it dry or it's a little bit harder. And then you just take a Kleenex or something like that and erase. Okay, that's as simple as it is to erase, but I do like mine to be ultra clean. So after I've gotten the most of it off, I'll take a little cloth or cotton ball or something and get a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it and then just wipe it off, and then it makes it extra clean. You get all the last little bits of that marker, the Sharpie, and the dry erase. And there you have it. And now it's ready to reuse for the next week. And I'll do this same thing for my DIY Find Your Capacity. Laurel Denise has an awesome YouTube video that Jen did on finding your capacity for the week and making sure that you were only planning the amount of things that you could actually do in a week because of how much time you had available. And so I took the handout from that and then created my own little printout that would fit right in here so I could use it each and every week. And it's been pretty helpful because you might think you have a lot of time, but then when you actually sit down and calculate it out, you don't have quite as much time as you thought you might. So that's been good. All right, and then I'm just going to wipe this off because that red kind of is really wanting to stay on there. So that's the first step of my weekly reset, is to review and go through everything and make sure I have cleared it out, checked my brain drops and things like that. The second step I like to do is a retro. And retro is a word for retrospective. And Jen also did another great YouTube video on doing a weekly retro. And this is a free printable that you can get from the video description. It's basically asking 3 things. What was working in my planning this week? What didn't work? And what will I adjust for next week? So I'm going to take a minute to fill this out. So I filled this out. The things that worked for me a lot this week were having the big task lists on my daily lists. I do like having a big list. Then the meal plan, I had a meal plan here, and the kids took turns cooking one night a week, and we pretty much stuck to that meal plan, and that was really good. And then the brain drop, just getting those ideas out of my head and having a spot for them. So those things all worked really well this week. Things that didn't work so well were my cleaning routine. I've been trying to do the Clean Mama cleaning routine, and I have these stickers here in the front with the weekly tasks up here, and I am not loving this. I've already made a little note to myself for when I set up my July that I want to switch some of that list and how I have that, and maybe use this for something that's more of a high priority. Not that cleaning isn't, but something that I would see and use, and maybe move like the devotions and other habits there. And then the daily tasks at the bottom of my daily list, like I said, I was kind of almost doing habit tracking, and I did not like how that ended up looking out. And then the other thing is that I kind of had ended up duplicating a lot of my things to do this week, and then I was writing them here and then moving them to the day, and I didn't have as many to fill in my little boxes. And so I think that I just want to maybe make this more of like my top 3 priorities for the week, and then if I have other things to just put them in on the days. So that is what I'm going to make that one. Those, well, they're kind of 2 small adjustments for this next week. So that is the second step, is first I review and then I do the retro, and now I'm ready to refresh my planner and get it ready for the week. So the very first thing I do in my refresh is I do keep all of my time-bound appointments on a digital calendar on Google Calendar, because I have 3 kids and we all have separate schedules, and my husband, and so it's nice to be able to share. So I have this little dashboard area that I like to print out my week from the Google Calendar, and then I just tape it in here. And then that way I can quickly see, instead of writing out kind of time blocking, I can just have that little calendar in there with everybody's different schedules and everything all ready to go. So I'm just putting in a little new washi tape. And then if you print out your weekly calendar at 70% from Google, it'll fit right there. So that way at a glance, I can kind of see what all I have going on. And so from there, then I can fill out my capacity. I know that actually for my capacity, over the last couple of weeks, having done this, I know that once 7 o'clock hits, I am really not up to doing any tasks that take time and attention. So if I were to reprint this for myself, I would not even include a 7 o'clock p.m. because I'm an early bedtime kind of girl, and by 7, I'm already starting that wind down evening routine. So that's out. But Monday, as you can see, I have a big training at school that I'm going to be going to. We're doing we're partnering with the local law enforcement and fire department and everything. And we're going to practice what happens in mass casualty situations. And so that's an all-day training. And then straight from there, I have to come and pick up my son and take him to baseball. So that is pretty much out. On Tuesday, my daughter has work, but she can take the car, but I just won't be able to go anywhere. But I do know that I will need like an hour in the middle of the day for lunch. And then I'll need a couple hours in the evening to be making them dinner and getting everything all cleaned up. So I'm going to block that off. Then on Wednesday, it's not a time-bound one, but my daughter does want me to take her to go shopping for some new furniture for her room. And we are going over to IKEA, which is about an hour away. And so that's going to take up most of the morning there. And then we'll come home, and then I need to make dinner a little bit early and clean up and get all the kids' stuff done. And then I have therapy in the evening. On Thursday, once again, my daughter has work here, and so I just will be without a car. But then we have baseball game that's at 6, but then that means we have to be there by 5:30, so we have to leave by 5, so we need to eat dinner by 4. And then Friday morning, I have breakfast with some friends that have been lifelong friends for the last almost 20 years. So I'm going to block out some time for that. And then another time block for dinner here. And then Saturday morning is busy. And then Zachary has an appointment. And then after that, we usually go and do like all of our grocery shopping. And by the time I get home from that and eat lunch, it's about then. Okay, and some dinner. And then church on Sunday. I've got to get ready for church, go to church. And then we get home from church. I need to make lunch. And then I always do my weekly reset here in the afternoon. And then need to plan some time for dinner. So now we can count the number of blocks that I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28. And 80% of that, let's see, 2.8 times 2. So let's say that's 5. So let's say we're going to just round to about 22 hours. So that'll give me a good idea of how much time I have to do all my different tasks. And so let's look at some of my tasks for the week. I have my summer decor, which is going to be about an hour and a half, work on the basement. I have an hour, but I am a couple hours behind because I haven't been doing it. So right now I'm up to about 3 hours there. And so then we can start pulling things off of my next week's list. So I do need to do this reel and transfer these dashboards here. So we can move those over. And then it looks like I have a really big block here on this Thursday, and I need to clean our chicken coop, but we have some brand new little chicks that just hatched, and so if I could get that coop cleaned before it's time to move them out, then they would have a really nice thing to move out to. It just depends if the broody moms who are out there actually hatch any eggs. And then I'd like to have a date night with Trevor, but let's look at his schedule. So this is today and tomorrow. So he's not off for this whole entire next week. So we probably wouldn't really get a date night in there because of his schedule. So that might just have to wait until the next week. But I could definitely work on the basement a little bit more and have our budget update. And so then, now all of these that were marked as soon would move over to the next week. And so that's kind of how I'm planning my tasks for the week. And these are all done, so we can move them off of here. Okay. And then it's time, now that I kind of have a look at what my week will look like and the tasks that I can do, it's time to start laying it out here in my weekly. In my weekly, I like to mark the first 2 lines so that I can put any appointments or top things for me to do there. And then 3 lines, so each of my children gets a line, so I can mark their things there. And then I'm just going to leave the bottom blank this week and see how it works. When I was using my Christie planner and I was doing the same thing every single week because I knew what I wanted and I loved it, I would pre-draw these lines when I was doing my monthly layouts and decorations. But since this is a new planner spread and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, I held off on marking it, and I'm really glad that I did since I've already changed in these 2 weeks a couple of times, just because it takes sometimes a little bit of trial and error to see what you're going to like in a new planner and what's going to work best for you. In this week column, I think I'm just going to put a little header here. I have some stickers from the banners that I used here. And I could put my priorities. And then maybe I'll put one for down here. I don't know. It's going to be something about like nice if I get to it, or I don't know. So I'm not going to label it right this second because I am not sure. Now I'm going to go in and I am going to put in the days. If I can spell properly, can't write and spell at the same time. And this is from 8 to 5. And then 6 o'clock. And then Tuesday, she has work. And then Wednesday. And then Thursday, she has work. And he has a game. Actually, let me fill in her times because she kind of switches times a lot. So that would be helpful. And I know it's up here, but I like to just, when I'm glancing at my day, to kind of see how it's going to go. And then let's see, so we've got those two things, and then and we decided on 8:30 for this. And then I know on this day I will do Costco. And then we have church. So I can kind of see how the week is shaping up there. And then as my little tasks come in, or what I want to do, I can put them down here. And I know that I had said I was going to maybe clean the coop on Thursday. So I think I'd like to just kind of put that there to start out with. And then the last thing is if there was anything from my monthly to-do list that I wanted to pull over. So we already have that summer decor on there. Update the trust. So that was one of the things that I was supposed to have done this week. And so I'm going to make it a priority because I haven't gotten to it yet. So I had decided that updating our trust is more of probably a project. And so I did break it down into some different things I needed to do. So I need to at least get this first step started for myself. And then working on the basement for 3 hours. So I already have the basement on my task list. This is a financial goal that I'm kind of working on still. And the budget update with Trevor is on right there. And so we are making it through, adding some of those into the lists. And then most of the time on this bottom part, that's just as I'm kind of thinking the night before or a couple days out, I will put all those running task lists there. But that is how I do my weekly refresh and in this planner. And it's just so good to be able to know that I've started out fresh, that I'm not missing out anything that should have been done from last week. I've moved the things over, but I really encourage you to try and find some type of plan that works for you and then write it out so you don't forget the steps each week, because otherwise it takes so much longer when you have to think through the steps. If you have it just written out and then you just go boom, boom, boom through the steps, your weekly refresh will go so much more quickly. And put it somewhere where you can find it easily. And then just take that amount of time, whether it's half hour, 10 minutes, however long it takes you, and sit down and do it. And you will find that your week goes so much more smoothly. I hope that you found this helpful, and I will see you again next time. Bye.